So let's start working on the REST API again. And for that, I'll run npm start in my REST API NodeJS project too. And that is also the reason why I'm using different ports, by the way. Here, I'm starting the application on port 8080. My front-end application automatically takes port 3000. And this simulates that these two ends of my application are served by different servers in the end, which is a pretty common scenario since front-end only applications like React can be served in so-called static hosts, which are optimized for applications that only consist of HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, and hence you might indeed have two different servers, even if you created both the backend and the frontend. So we have different ports, and therefore we have different domains, and therefore we definitely need our course headers, otherwise nothing would work. And with that, we can now start working on our feed routes. We actually got two routes already, /posts and /post for creating a new post and for getting existing posts. And now let's add some logic to our controller actions to actually return something useful and to enable the user to create new posts. Let's maybe start with getting posts, because that would allow us to see at least some dummy data. So that is something useful. For that, in getPosts, we actually already return a list of dummy data posts. Each post has a title and some content. Now, it's of course always up to you how you want your data to look like in an application. In this application, because my frontend also expects it, I want to have a post which in the end consists of a title, which has a user attached to it, a creator or an author, which has a creation date, which has an image, and which has some content. This is what I want to output in my front end, so the data we store on the server should have all these fields in the end. Now, we don't have to start with the full package, though. I already have a title and content here. Now, let's maybe add some image URL here. And for that, I'll create a new images folder. And for the moment, I will just copy an image into that folder. Later, we'll, of course, add image upload. I'll copy in my good old duck image, which I used before in the course. And here it is, the lovely duck JPEG. And I want to serve that duck. So here in image URL, I will actually provide images/duck.jpg as a path. Because that is my local path on the server here. It's missing my domain and so on. We'll have to attach this on the front end. But this is now a post as I could serve it. If I now save this, we can actually fetch that data with a GET request to localhost 8080/feed, because that is what we have as a filter to reach the feed routes. So /feed/posts. Now, let's try that out in our front-end application. There, we fetch our posts in a feed.js file in the source pages feed folder. In there, you should find a load posts function. Load posts is a function that is called by the React code and so on in the end. And what we do here is I also support pagination, which we'll add later. For now, I just want to reach out to my URL, which is http localhost 8080, written like this, and then /feed/posts, like this. So this route I just talked about in the REST API. This should fetch all these posts. Then here, I just check if the status code is not equal to 200, which would mean that something went wrong, and then I throw a new error, which is handled in the React application. Otherwise, I extract my body, and then here I have my body, and I use some React logic to load that body in the end and to hopefully display it. If I save that, and I go back to my application, I'll get an error regarding the name, the author name, which is missing. I'm not supporting users yet, so this will be a problem for the moment. And we'll also get an error regarding the date eventually. So to avoid this, we should go back to our controller and add some dummy data for this too. Let's add a creator object, because that is what I'll be looking for in my React code, which should be an object with a name, where you can enter any name you want. Later, we'll of course connect this to a real user in the database. And let's also add a date. And here you can simply create a new date with, well, new date like this. Last but not least, you also want to add some ID, and that should be underscore ID because I'll be looking for underscore ID in the front-end code in the React application, because later we'll use Mongoose again here, and that of course, or MongoDB in general, and that of course simply adds IDs with underscore ID. So here you can enter any ID you want. Now if you save that updated controller code and the server therefore restarts, you can reload. And you'll still get that error, which is related to our status, our user status, which we still can't fetch. But if you simply click that away, you see that first post here. And that is looking better than before. The invalid date is a problem because actually the field should be named created at, not date. That was a tiny mistake on my side. On the server, it should be created at. With that, if you reload, you see this post. So fetching posts works. Of course, it's just dummy data though. To work with real data, I want to be able to create new posts by clicking New Post. So that is something we can add as a next step.